Viewer discretion is advised.
Social media. It's how we can talk to our loved ones, play games with each other, keep tabs on long-lost friends, and get our news. However, throughout this age of constant communication, sometimes the ease of access can lead to mistruths or to fake news. From this global phenomenon of social media, how does it influence our way of getting information? And how can that information just as easily be misleading propaganda attempting to drive you the wrong way? Let's look at the media influence of propaganda. Propaganda is the simple spreading of information, which in itself seems harmless enough. However, there's always a catch. Before we dive into how propaganda is used today, we must look at how it was used back at the dawn of major media, the television. With such technology allowing for people across a nation or even multiple to see the lives within another, this led to many competitions. Competitions of showing how good a country, person, or group really seems to be, of how powerful they are, or how evil another may be.
Wir werden sie noch herausfordern, diese internationalen Kapitalslügner. Wir werden sehen, es wird sicherlich eines Tages keinen Churchill mehr geben, aber deutsche U-Boote wird es geben und in Masse.
With everything comes a catch, and while propaganda is the mere spreading of information, a lot of the time it is false.
I actually grew up in East Germany under the dictatorship of socialism. So I grew up with propaganda that, for example, the people from the West German part, which were also family folks and friends, would come over and conquer our area. So what happened was the propaganda said the Berlin Wall has been built that the fascists don't come back and we have to protect our territory. We have to protect our idea of socialism, of another way how you organize a society. And in that regard, we learned how to throw bombs and hand grenades in school.
With such ease of access to everyone, television promoted such to take place. As the times progressed, it became worse and worse. It was used to show bad sides of people, forcing a change in opinion. It was used to force hate upon others.
What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual.
And it was used to promote evil causes. This is the form of propaganda we recognize the most today. Take the 1960 election between John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. This was the first televised presidential debate. As a youngster who knew the media, Kennedy was prepared and used a good body language and spoke clearly.
Secondly, I think the question is, what are the programs that we advocate? What is the party record that we lead? I come out of the Democratic Party, which in this century has produced Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman, and which supported and sustained these programs which I've discussed tonight.
Nixon refused to use makeup and got sweaty on national television, mumbled, and shifted in his seat constantly.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, your question brings out a point that I'm very glad to make. Too often, in appraising whether we are moving ahead or not, we think only of what the federal government is doing. Now, that isn't the test of whether America moves. The test of whether America moves is whether the federal government, plus the state government, plus the local government.
This was used against him within the media to state that he was not a good president to keep up with these modern times, and thus Kennedy won all thanks to anti-Nixon propaganda slowly based off of his appearance within the debate. Since then, the media has used propaganda to influence voters and to influence elections. Within the 2016 presidential election, candidate Donald Trump called out the news media and social media for spreading fake news in an attempt to turn the election votes towards an opposing candidate, leading straight to calling out the news corporation CNN as fake news at the beginning of a news briefing.
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
The media had been caught being influenced by foreign politics, influencing extremist groups, and spreading lies about candidates in attempt to cheat the election. Even to this day, with leaks of the Sinclair script, the media continues to influence the public through lies and through cheap tricks.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous.
There are media forces which are kind of propaganda, which is definitely the case if you look at social media. There are some trolls, there are some made-up websites on facts which are not real facts, and therefore I foresee, for example, the internet as the most difficult challenge to that it's so important that people get trained to use what sources they look into, not to fail or fall on the trap of propaganda and media.
Those are just a few examples of the media using propaganda to influence people's thinking. Propaganda is simply the idea of spreading information to gain support for a cause or to turn others against a cause. For the simple explanation and many examples given, I'm sure that you've figured out the main purpose of this video is to show you that propaganda is everywhere, by this video being propaganda. This quick look at propaganda within media has attempted to convince you that the media is using such tactics to influence the people. In turn, this video is indeed propaganda. It's everywhere, and all you have to do is believe for your own self. Do not let the media influence your thought processes, and you will be able to find propaganda within anything.
Me rapproche de toi. Et quand viendra l'hiver, qu'est-ce que ça peut me faire? Moi j'ai chaud dans tes bras. Si l'on se moque de moi, si les gens n'aiment pas, alors se finit l'été. Moi j'aimerais toujours, amenant mon amour, le temps de la rentrée.